The storm hit the research station like an angry god. Rain hammered against the metal walls, and lightning split the dark sky every few seconds. Day sat in his small office watching the weather monitors flash red warnings across the screen. He was alone on this planet exactly how he liked it. No people meant no complications. No complications meant no one else would die because of his mistakes. The research station sat on the edge of a cliff overlooking endless forests. Taesong 7 was barely safe for humans. The air was breathable, but the storms came without warning, and the local animals were aggressive. Most scientists refused to work here. Dee had volunteered. After what happened on his last mission, isolation felt right. 3 people had died because he followed the rules instead of his gut. Their faces still haunted his dreams. He was reviewing soil samples when the perimeter alarm screamed. Day jumped, nearly dropping his coffee. The screen showed something big had triggered the sensors near the eastern fence. Something very big. The heat signature was massive, bigger than any local predator. And it wasn't moving. Protocol said to stay inside during storms. Protocol said to wait for backup. Protocol had gotten his friends killed. Day grabbed his jacket and emergency kit. He pulled on thick boots and checked his stun weapon. The wind nearly knocked him over when he opened the door. Rain soaked through his jacket in seconds. He activated his helmet light and pushed forward, following the tracker on his wrist display. He found her collapsed against a rock formation, barely breathing. At first, Day thought she was some kind of predator from the deep forests. She looked like a mixture of a big cat and a lizard, covered in scales that glowed faintly even in the rain. She was huge, maybe 300 pounds, with powerful legs built for running or jumping. Her front limbs had hands with long fingers and claws. Blood pooled around her. Silver-colored blood that hissed when the rain touched it. Then he saw her eyes. They tracked him as he approached, full of intelligence and fear. This wasn't an animal. This was someone. She tried to move away, but the effort made her cry out. The sound was almost human. Day held up his hands, keeping his voice calm despite the storm. Easy. I'm not going to hurt you. Let me help. She probably couldn't understand him, but his tone seemed to work. She stopped struggling and watched as he examined her wounds. There were 3 deep burns across her side, perfectly straight lines. Weapon burns. Someone had shot her. Someone had hunted her. Getting her to the station took an hour. Day used an equipment sled and his last bit of strength. She was unconscious by the time he dragged her through the door. The medical bay wasn't designed for alien biology, but Day had studied enough xenobiology to improvise. He cleaned the wounds with antiseptic and sealed them with medical foam. Her blood chemistry was strange, but not incompatible with basic treatment. She woke up twice during the process. Both times, those intelligent eyes found his face. Both times, she relaxed when he spoke softly. Trust was forming, fragile and uncertain. By dawn, the storm had passed. The creature was sleeping on the medical bay floor, breathing steadily. Day sat against the wall, exhausted and covered in silver blood. He opened his research log and stared at the empty entry field. What was she? Where did she come from? And who had tried to kill her? He decided to call her Hana in his notes. It meant one in his grandmother's language. The first of her kind he'd ever seen. The first alien intelligence humanity had found that wasn't primitive or long extinct. If word got out, this planet would be flooded with military and corporate interests within weeks. Day looked at Hana's sleeping form. The scars on her body weren't just from today. Some were old, thin white lines cutting through her scales. Someone had hurt her many times. Someone had kept hurting her. He made a decision then. He wouldn't report this immediately. He would give her time to heal, time to decide what she wanted. If powerful people were hunting her, she deserved a choice about what happened next. The monitoring system showed her vital signs stabilizing. Day allowed himself to relax slightly. He pulled a blanket from storage and laid it near her. If she got cold, it would be there. Then he went to his quarters to clean up and grab a few hours of sleep. When he woke, the blanket had been moved. Hana had dragged it closer to herself. She was awake, watching the door to his quarters. When he emerged, she made a low sound, not threatening, almost like a question. "Good morning," Day said, keeping his movements slow. "Hungry?" He prepared food for himself and had no idea what she ate. But when he brought a tray with various items, dried meat, fruit, nutrient bars, she carefully selected the meat and some fruit. She ate delicately, watching him the entire time. Over the next 3 days, a routine formed. Day changed her bandages, which she tolerated without complaint. He worked on his research while she explored the station slowly. She was cautious, touching things carefully, examining the technology with obvious curiosity. On the third evening, something changed. Day was playing music while cooking dinner. Hana approached slowly, tilting her head at the sound. She made a series of clicks and whistles that sounded almost melodic. She was trying to communicate. Day immediately pulled up language analysis software. For the next 2 hours, they worked together. Hana would make sounds and gestures. Day would respond with words and pictures. She learned frightening fast. By the time Day went to bed, she could understand simple words and had started mimicking sounds. She slept outside his door that night. Day could hear her breathing through the wall. Something about it was comforting. For the first time in months, he didn't dream about the people he'd lost. On the fourth day, Hana did something that changed everything. She approached Day's computer and, moving carefully, began drawing on the screen. Star maps. She drew constellations, then pointed to a region of space that humanity called the Shroud. It was off limits because ships disappeared there. Never attacked, just gone. She pointed to herself, then to that dark region. That was her home. That was where the hunters came from. Then she did something that made Day's blood run cold. She pulled up an image of herself and used the computer to show damaged chains fighting. She had been a prisoner, a slave. And she had escaped. The weapon's burns on her body made terrible sense now. She wasn't just running from enemies. She was running from owners. Day sat down hard, his mind racing. If her people found out she was here, they would come for her. And if they found him helping her, they might come for him too. But looking at Hana, seeing the hope in her alien eyes, he knew he couldn't abandon her. Whatever came next, they would face it together. He just didn't know how soon next would arrive. The breakthrough came on the 6th day. Hana was getting stronger, moving without pain. Her wounds were healing faster than Day expected. The silver blood forming crystalline scabs that fell away to reveal new scales underneath. She spent hours at his computer, teaching herself to use the interface with surprising speed. Day watched her work through the station's educational database. She absorbed information like a sponge. Languages, mathematics, basic physics. She understood it all. This wasn't just intelligence, this was genius. Her species was clearly advanced, maybe more advanced than humans. That made the scars on her body even worse. On this particular morning, Day was examining plant samples from the forest when Hana made an excited sound. He looked up to find her gesturing at the computer screen. She had managed to pull up the translation software and had been feeding it recordings of her own voice. The program was learning her language. Day, the computer said in a flat synthetic voice. It was the first time his name had been spoken by anyone in months. Hearing it from the computer translating Hana's words made emotion tighten in his chest. Yes, Hana? She made a series of sounds. The computer hesitated, processing, then translated. Thank you for help. For kindness, Day smiled. You're welcome. Can you tell me more about where you're from? The conversation that followed was broken and difficult. The translation software wasn't perfect yet. But piece by piece, Hana's story emerged. Her species was called the Valerai. They were apex predators on their homeworld, evolving intelligence to hunt in packs across vast territories. Strength and dominance were built into their culture. The strong ruled, the weak served. For thousands of years this worked. Then they discovered space travel and found other species, weaker species. The Valerai Empire spread across multiple systems, conquering and enslaving. They took the strongest from each species and forced them to fight in arenas for entertainment and to establish hierarchy. Hana had been bred for this purpose. Born in captivity, trained from birth to fight. She showed D scars, pointing to each one and naming what had caused it. Blade, fire, claws, electricity. Each scar was a fight she had survived. She had been good at it. Very good. That's why they kept her alive. Why did you run? Day asked. Hana was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled up images on the computer. A small creature, something like a bird with 4 wings. She made soft sounds, translated as child and innocent, and refused. They wanted you to kill a child? Hana nodded. In the arena, she was supposed to execute a juvenile of another species. It was meant to be a show of dominance, proving the Valerai were superior. But when Hana stood in the sand looking at the terrified young creature, something broke inside her. She refused. She turned her weapons on her handlers instead. The escape had been chaos. She killed 3 guards, stole a scout ship, and ran. They chased her across 2 systems before her ship was damaged. She crashed on Taesong 7 during the storm. Her pursuers right behind her. They had shot her ship from the sky. Where are they now? Day asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. Hana manipulated the computer, showing sensor logs. 3 Valori ships had entered the system 2 days ago. They were searching, moving systematically through the sector. They hadn't found the crash site yet because the storm had scattered debris across hundreds of miles. But they would find it eventually. They would find her, and they would find Day. I should leave, Hana said through the translator. Danger for you. My presence brings hunters. No, Day said firmly. We'll figure something out. You're not going back to them. Hana made a sound that the computer couldn't translate, but her body language spoke clearly, gratitude mixed with disbelief. Like she couldn't understand why this human would risk himself for her. They spent the rest of the day planning. Day contacted the colonial military outpost on the other side of the planet, a small base commanded by a woman named Yuna. He kept the details vague, reporting potential hostile contacts and requesting a defense assessment. Yuna was skeptical but agreed to monitor the situation. That night, Hana did something unexpected. She approached Dee while he was reading and gently pressed her forehead against his shoulder. It was clearly significant, some kind of gesture from her culture. When he didn't pull away, she made a deep rumbling sound that felt like a purr. What does that mean? Day asked softly. The computer translated her response. Pack family, trust. Day felt something warm spread through his chest. He carefully placed his hand on her scaled head. Her scales were smooth and warm, the bioluminescent patterns pulsing gently under his palm. Family, he agreed. They stayed like that for several minutes. 2 beings from different worlds finding connection in shared loneliness, but comfort couldn't last. 3 days later, everything changed. Day woke to Hana making distressed sounds outside his door. He rushed out to find her pacing, agitated. The computer was already translating before he asked. Problem. Big problem. You smell wrong. What? Hana came closer, sniffing at him carefully. She touched his arm, his shirt, his hair. Each time, she became more upset. She pulled up images on the computer, showing Valori biology. She highlighted a specific gland near their necks. We mark pack, the translation said. Scent cannot wash away. Others know by smell who belongs to whom. Day felt cold understanding creep through him. You marked me? Not meaning to. Happens when close to pack for many days. When trust. When sleep near. When touch. Hana was clearly distressed, her claws clicking anxiously on the floor. Your scent now carries my mark. Any Valori will smell it. We'll know human protected me. We'll know human is part of my pack. What does that mean for me? Hana met his eyes. Even through alien features, he could see the fear there. To hunters, you are now property. Or traitor. Either way, they will come for you too. My scent marks you as mine. They will take you or kill you. I am sorry. I'm so sorry. Day sat down, processing this information. He wasn't angry, surprisingly. Hana clearly hadn't meant for this to happen. It was just biology, instinct. But the implications were severe. So when they find us, they'll want both of us. Yes. I have endangered you. I should have known. Should have been more careful. Day was quiet for a moment. Then he stood and met Hana's worried gaze. Then we don't let them find us unprepared. If they want to hunt me for helping someone in need, they're going to learn what humans do to bullies. You do not understand. Valori are strong, faster than humans. Claws, teeth, armor. You cannot fight them. No, Day agreed. I probably can't fight them the way they fight. But humans don't need to be the strongest, Hana. We're clever. We're mean when we need to be. And we really don't like slavers. He pulled up his communication console and sent an urgent message to Commander Yuna. This time, he didn't hold back. He told her everything. About Hana, the Valori, the hunting ships, and the fact that they were now looking for him too. To his relief, Yuna didn't dismiss him as crazy. I'll send what we have, she said over the comm. 2 corvettes and a frigate. It'll take them 18 hours to reach your position. Can you hold out that long? We'll have to, Day replied. After the call ended, Hana approached him. Why do you fight for me? Why risk your life? Day thought about his answer carefully. On Earth we have an old saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. You needed help. I gave it. If that makes me a target, then so be it. Besides, he smiled slightly, you called me family. Humans protect family. Hana made that deep rumbling sound again. Then she did something that surprised him. She opened files on the computer and began teaching him about Valerai combat. Weak points, tactics, how they thought during hunts. If we fight, she said, we fight together. I teach you how to survive them. For the next 18 hours they prepared, and they learned that sometimes being human meant standing up to monsters, even when you were terrified. 18 hours was not enough time, but it was what they had. Day and Hana transformed the research station from a place of science into something resembling a fortress. Every tool, every piece of equipment became part of their defense. Day started with the mining drones. The station had 6 of them, designed to collect geological samples from dangerous areas. They were tough, equipped with cutting lasers and strong gripping arms. With Hana's help, he reprogrammed their targeting systems. The drones wouldn't mistake a Valerai for a rock formation now. They would actively defend the station perimeter. Valerai rely on honor in combat, Hana explained while they worked. Single combat is sacred. Many on one is shameful. They will try to separate us, challenge us individually. That's good, Day said, routing power cables to the perimeter fence. Means they'll underestimate what we'll do. Humans gave up on honor in war about 10,000 years ago. We fight to win. Nothing else matters. Hana watched him electrify the fence with enough voltage to stop a charging animal. Your species sounds dangerous. Only when we need to be. Usually we're pretty peaceful. But not when threatened? Day smiled grimly. Not even a little bit. They worked through the morning, setting traps and creating defensive positions. Day showed Hana how to use human weapons. The stun rifle made her uncomfortable at first, too much like the weapons her captors had used. But she learned quickly, her natural reflexes making her a frighteningly good shot. Your people hunt for sport, Day said while showing her how to reload. My people hunted to survive for millions of years. We might not be as strong or fast, but we learned to kill things much bigger and meaner than us. That knowledge doesn't go away just because we have cities and computers now. Around midday, Commander Yuna called with an update. Her ships had engaged the Valerai vessels in the outer system. It wasn't going well. They're fast, Yuna reported, her image flickering on the screen. Our weapons hit, but their armor is tough. They're not trying to destroy us, though. They're pushing us out of position, trying to get past us to reach you. How long before they break through? Maybe 4 hours. Maybe less. We'll do what we can. Yuna paused. Day, if you want to evacuate, now's the time. I can get a shuttle to you. Day looked at Hana, who was checking the charge on one of the stun rifles. She met his eyes and shook her head slightly. She wouldn't run even to save him. Negative, Day said. We're staying. But if things go bad, make sure everyone knows what happened here. Make sure they know the Valerai are slavers. Will do. Good luck, researcher. Show them what humans are made of. The transmission ended. 4 hours. They spent it creating their final surprises. Day filled containers with chemicals from his lab, creating acidic sprays and irritant gases. Nothing lethal, but enough to hurt and confuse. He rigged them to motion sensors at key entry points. Hana carved warnings in the dirt around the station in Valerai script. She told Day, they said, the marked one is under protection. Leave or face consequences. It probably wouldn't work, but it was worth trying. In the medical bay, they prepared for injuries. Day showed Hana where the medical supplies were kept, how to use the automated systems. She showed him pressure points on Valerai anatomy where strikes would be most effective. Here, she said, indicating a spot behind her jaw, and here at the joint of the leg. We are strong, but these places are vulnerable. What about you? Day asked. How do I help if you're hurt? Hana made a sound like a laugh. I have survived worse than what comes. You worry about staying alive. I worry about both of us staying alive, Day corrected. With an hour remaining, they took a break. Day made food and they ate together in the station's common area. It felt surreal, sharing a meal while knowing violence was coming. Why did you really stay? Hana asked. You could have reported me to authorities. Could have let them deal with this. Day chewed slowly, thinking. 3 years ago, I led an expedition to a volcanic region. The sensors said the ground was stable. Protocol said it was safe. But my gut told me something was wrong. I ignored that feeling because the rules said everything was fine. He paused. 3 people fell through unstable ground into a lava flow. I heard them screaming for 12 seconds before the heat killed them. That was not your fault. Maybe not technically, but I learned something that day. Following the rules, doing what you're supposed to do, that's not always the right choice. Sometimes you have to do what you know in your heart is right, even if it breaks every protocol. He met her alien eyes. Turning you over to people who would hurt you, that would break something in me. I couldn't do it. I won't do it. Hana reached across the table and gently touched his hand with one clawed finger. You are strange for a prey species. Humans aren't prey, Day said. We're survivors. There's a difference. The long-range sensors beeped. 3 objects were entering the atmosphere, coming in fast. The Valorai had arrived. They moved to their positions. Day took the control center where he could monitor all the station's systems and control the mining drones. Hana positioned herself near the main entrance, her body tense and ready. The stun rifle looked small in her hands. Through the external cameras, Day watched 3 ships land in a triangle formation around the station, cutting off escape routes. They were sleek and predatory, covered in the same bioluminescent patterns that marked Hana's scales. The clan symbols of her former owners. 4 Valorai emerged from the ships. They were each larger than Hana, wearing combat harnesses loaded with weapons. Their scales were darker colors, deep reds and blacks, and their movements spoke of absolute confidence. These were trained hunters, warriors who had never known defeat. The largest one, his scales marked with white scars from old battles, stepped forward. He called out in the Valorai language, his voice carrying easily across the open ground. Hana translated through gritted teeth. He says to return me. He says to submit yourself for claiming. He calls it mercy. Day activated the external speakers. His voice boomed across the compound. I am Day of Earth. This station is human territory. You have 60 seconds to leave this planet before we classify you as hostile invaders. The Valorai laughed. It was a chilling sound, full of genuine amusement at something they found adorable in its futility. The scarred leader responded. Hana translated. He says humans are weak, says we have no honor. He challenges you to face him in single combat. If you win, they leave. If you lose, they take us both. Tell him I accept his challenge, Day said. Tell him we fight here by my rules. Hana hesitated. Day, you cannot win a fair fight against him. He is Kale, a training master. He taught me everything I know about combat. He is death itself. Then it's a good thing I'm not planning to fight fair. Day pulled up the drone controls. Translate exactly what I say next. Make sure he hears every word. Hana nodded and began speaking in her native language as Day addressed the Valorai. Your challenge is based on honor. On strength meeting strength. But I am human, and we stopped caring about honor in battle thousands of years ago. We care about winning. We care about protecting what's ours. And if you think that makes us weak, you're about to learn a very painful lesson about why humans are the most dangerous prey species in the galaxy. The Valorai leader stopped laughing. His body language shifted from amused to angry. Tell him one more thing, Day said quietly. Tell him that if he wants a war with humanity, attacking one of our citizens is a great way to start one. Tell him Commander Yuna has already broadcast what's happening here to every human colony in the sector. Tell him that if he doesn't leave now, what happens next will be his fault. Hana translated. For a moment, Day thought it might actually work. The Valorai consulted among themselves, clearly reconsidering. Then their ships exploded. Commander Yuna's voice came over the comm, urgent and fierce. 3 more human vessels just entered orbit. We've destroyed their escape route. Whatever happens now, they're not leaving this planet unless we let them. The Valorai leader looked up at the sky where his ships burned. Then he looked back at the station, and Day saw something new in his posture. Not amusement anymore. Respect. And rage. Kale raised one clawed hand and roared a command. The Valorai charged. The battle for Research Station Gamma 7 had begun. The first Valorai to reach the perimeter fence learned about electricity the hard way. He grabbed the metal posts with both hands, intending to vault over. The voltage hit him like a hammer, every muscle in his body locking up. He fell backward, smoking slightly, stunned but alive. The others stopped, reassessing. They had expected prey that would run or hide. Instead, they found something that fought back before they even reached it. Day activated the mining drones. 6 machines rose from hidden positions around the station, their cutting lasers already charging. The Valorai scattered as red beams sliced through the air where they'd been standing. One beam caught a hunter across the shoulder, burning through armor and scale. He roared in pain and anger. They will separate now, Hana warned from her position. Come at station from multiple directions, she was right. The Valerai split up, each one choosing a different approach. Kale, the scarred leader, came straight at the main entrance. He was testing them, seeing what other surprises waited. He found out at the doorway. Motion sensors triggered and containers of acid spray exploded outward. Kale moved incredibly fast, but not fast enough. The acid caught his left arm, sizzling against his scales. He snarled and retreated, examining the damage. Through the cameras, Day saw him nod. Almost like approval. The prey had teeth. This would be interesting. Two Valerie reached the eastern wall and began cutting through the metal with plasma torches. Day sealed the internal doors to that section and vented the atmosphere, creating an explosive decompression. The sudden change in pressure threw both hunters backward, their torches extinguished, but they were learning, adapting. The youngest Valerai, his scales still bright with youth, climbed onto the roof. He began tearing at the solar panels, trying to cut power to the station. Hana saw him through a skylight. She aimed carefully and fired the stun rifle. The shot took him in the center of mass, and he convulsed before falling from the roof. He hit the ground hard but was already moving, crawling away. Tuff didn't begin to describe these creatures. The fourth hunter found a window and threw something through it. Day recognized the device half a second before it detonated, a sonic grenade designed to stun and disorient. The blast wave rattled his teeth and made his ears ring, but he'd seen it coming and had covered his ears. That's when Kale made his real move. While Day was distracted by the sonic grenade, the scarred leader charged the main entrance. He didn't try to be clever or avoid traps. He simply moved so fast that traps couldn't react. He was through the door before the defenses could fire inside the station, in Hana's territory. The two Valerai faced each other in the corridor. Kale spoke, his voice deep and resonant. Hana snarled back. Day didn't need translation to understand. This was personal. They came together like thunder. Claws against claws, strength against strength. Hana was good, her movements precise and efficient. But Kale was better. He had decades of experience and he used every bit of it. He blocked her strikes, redirected her momentum, made her work for every inch. Day left the control center and ran toward the fight, grabbing weapons as he went. A plasma cutter from the workshop, meant for metal, a canister of fire suppressant foam, anything that might help. He arrived to see Kyle slam Hana against the wall hard enough to dent the metal. She slashed at his throat, but he caught her arm and twisted. Dee heard bones creak. Hana cried out in pain. That's when Day hit Kale with the plasma cutter. The tool screamed to life, its superheated blade slicing across the Valerai's back. Kale roared and spun, releasing Hana. He looked at Day, and for the first time the human saw genuine surprise on an alien face. Humans interfere in honor combat? Kale said in broken human language. Shame. Weakness. Humans protect family, Day replied, raising the plasma cutter. Honor is for sports. This is survival, Kale charged. He was faster than anything Day had ever seen, closing the distance in heartbeats. Day barely managed to dodge, feeling claws pass close enough to tear his jacket. He sprayed the fire suppressant foam wildly, creating a white cloud between them. Through the foam, Kale's arm shot out and grabbed Day by the throat. The grip was crushing, irresistible. Day felt his feet leave the floor as the Valerai lifted him one-handed. Weak, Kale said, studying Day like an interesting insect. Why do you fight? You cannot win. Day couldn't breathe enough to answer. His vision was starting to narrow, going dark at the edges. The plasma cutter had fallen from his hand. This was it. He'd tried his best, but it wasn't enough. Then Hana hit Kale from the side like a missile. She'd recovered enough to move, and her tackle took the larger Valerai completely by surprise. They crashed into a wall together, and Kale lost his grip on Day. The human fell, gasping for air, his throat on fire. Hana and Kale fought savagely. Blood, both silver and dark red, splattered across the walls. Hana was giving everything she had, fighting with a desperation Day had never seen. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about proving something, maybe to Kale, maybe to herself. Day retrieved the plasma cutter and looked for an opening. But the two Valerai moved too fast, a blur of scales and claws. He couldn't get a clear shot without risking Hana. Then Kale did something unexpected. He stopped fighting. He caught Hana's arms and held them, not attacking, just restraining. He spoke rapidly in their language, his tone urgent. Hana froze, listening. Then she responded, her voice shaking. The moment stretched. Finally, Kale released her. He stepped back, blood running from multiple wounds. He looked at Day, then back to Hana. He says the fight is over. Hana translated, her voice stunned. He says I won. What, how? You didn't defeat him? Kyle spoke again, gesturing at Day. Hana translated. He says any warrior who can inspire such loyalty from another species has already won. He says I found a pack worth dying for, which means I have grown beyond what they tried to make me. Outside, the sounds of fighting had stopped. The other 3 Valerai appeared in the doorway, battered and cautious. The youngest one was limping badly. The one Day had electrocuted looked singed and angry. Kale addressed them in Valerai. It was clearly an order because all 3 straightened to attention. Then he turned back to Hana and Day. We withdraw, Kale said in rough human language. Hana is no longer property. She is warrior, free. He paused, looking at Day. Human is strange. Weak body but strong spirit. You fight without honor, but with great courage. This is confusing. Humans don't need honor when we're protecting what matters, Day replied, his voice hoarse from being choked. We just need to win. Kale made a sound that might have been a laugh. Dangerous philosophy. Your species will trouble the galaxy, I think. Only if the galaxy troubles us first, Day said. The Valerai leader nodded slowly. Then he did something surprising. He placed one clawed hand over his heart and bowed slightly to both Day and Hana. It was clearly a gesture of respect. I will report to the council, Kyle said. We'll tell them Hana earned freedom through combat. We'll tell them humans are not prey. He paused. But know this, not all Valerai think as I do. Some will see your defiance as challenge. Some will come to test you to prove humans are weak. Let them come, Day said. We'll be ready. Kale studied him for a long moment. Then he spoke to Hana in their language. She responded, her tone firm. Kale nodded and turned to leave, gesturing for his hunters to follow. At the door he stopped and looked back. You surprised me today, Human Day. I will remember this, and I will speak for you when others doubt. Then the Valerai were gone, limping back to the ruins of their ships. Commander Yuna's voice came over the comm asking for a status report. Day told her the fight was over, that the Valerai were leaving. How? Yuna demanded. Our scans showed they were winning. They were, Day agreed. But winning isn't everything. Sometimes understanding is more important. After the call ended, Day and Hana sat in the wrecked corridor, surrounded by damage and blood. They were both injured, exhausted, running on nothing but adrenaline and relief. What did Kale say to you? Day asked. At the end, in your language? Hana was quiet for a moment. He said I had become more than he taught me to be. He said he was proud, and that he hoped I would teach you our ways of fighting so you would survive what comes next. What comes next? Other Valerai. Younger ones eager to prove themselves. They will hear about today and want to test the human who defeated warriors. Kale can protect us from official pursuit but not from individuals seeking glory. Day leaned his head back against the wall. Great, so this isn't over. No, Hana agreed. But we survived today. That is enough. They sat together in the damaged station, 2 beings from different worlds bound by trust and shared danger. Outside, human ships patrolled the sky. Inside, an unlikely friendship had become something stronger. Family, forged in fire and blood. And if more Valerai wanted to test that family, they would learn what the first group had discovered. Humans might not be the strongest or fastest species in the galaxy, but they were absolutely the most stubborn. 3 weeks after the fight, Day found himself in a place he hated. The Colonial Administration building on the capital city of Taesong 7th, sitting before a council of people who had never left the safety of their comfortable offices. Hana sat beside him, drawing stares from everyone. She wore a simple jumpsuit that Dee had modified for her frame, and she radiated barely contained frustration. Being indoors with this many humans made her nervous. The council leader, a stern woman named Jiwon, shuffled papers on her desk. Dr. Day, your actions 3 weeks ago have created a significant diplomatic situation. Diplomatic situation? Day kept his voice level. They attacked a human research station. They demanded I surrender myself and Hana to slavery. How is defending ourselves a diplomatic problem? Another council member, a man named Somin, leaned forward. Because now we have confirmed contact with an aggressive alien species. Because you've potentially started a conflict that could endanger all human colonies in this sector. Because you made these decisions without authorization or oversight. There wasn't time for oversight, Day said. They were going to kill us. But they didn't, Jiwan pointed out. In fact, according to Commander Yuna's report, they withdrew peacefully. Perhaps if you had attempted communication first instead of preparing for combat, this entire situation could have been avoided. Day felt his temper rising. Hana placed one hand on his arm, a gentle warning. He took a breath and tried to stay calm. With respect, Counselor, you weren't there. You didn't see what they intended. Hana was their slave. They came to reclaim property, not negotiate. The alien's testimony is questionable, Soman said, not looking at Hana. We have only her word about these alleged crimes. For all we know, she's a criminal fleeing justice. Hana made a low growling sound. The council member shifted nervously. Good, Day thought. Let them be uncomfortable. Commander Yuna, who was also present, spoke up. If I may, counselors, I've reviewed all the data from the engagement. The Valori vessels were equipped with military-grade weapons and showed clear hostile intent. Dr. Day acted in self-defense, and his actions likely saved both his life and his guest's life. Additionally, his handling of the situation has given us valuable intelligence about a species we knew nothing about. Intelligence that you want to exploit, Jiwan said, turning her attention to Hana. We understand you're willing to provide information about your people in exchange for sanctuary. Hana nodded slowly. Yes, I know Valori military structure, technology, territorial claims. I know slave routes and breeding facilities. I will share this if you promise protection. And what about the moral implications? A younger council member asked. If what you say is true, the Valori are enslaving multiple species. Doesn't humanity have an obligation to do something about that? Salman snorted. That's not our problem. We have enough issues maintaining our own colonies without getting involved in alien politics. It becomes our problem if they decide to enslave humans, Yuna countered. The Valori view strength as the only virtue that matters. If we show weakness now, we're inviting future aggression. The debate continued for another hour. Day sat through it, feeling increasingly angry. They were talking about Hana like she was a problem to be solved, not a person who'd suffered terrible things. They were more worried about paperwork and politics than doing what was right. Finally, Jiwan called for order. We've decided to grant Hana temporary asylum, conditional on her cooperation with our intelligence services. She'll be housed in a secure facility where she can be debriefed and monitored. No, Day said flatly. Everyone turned to look at him. Excuse me? Jiwan's voice was cold. I said no. She's not going to some facility to be locked up and interrogated. She's staying with me at the research station. Dr. Day, you don't have the authority to make that decision. Then I'll resign and take her somewhere else. There are colonies that would be happy to have a xenobiology expert and the only friendly Valori in human space. Soman's face reddened. You're being irrational. The alien is clearly influencing you somehow. Hana stood up abruptly, her full height impressive even in the large room. I influence nothing. Day makes own choices. Always has. That is what you do not understand. He sees person, not tool. He sees friend, not resource. This makes him better than you. The room went silent. Several council members looked offended. Others looked thoughtful. Commander Yuna stood as well. If I may suggest a compromise, Hana stays at the research station with Dr. Day, but accepts regular visits from intelligence officers for debriefing. She's clearly cooperative and has shown no hostile intent. Imprisoning her sends the wrong message, both to her and to any other aliens who might seek asylum in the future. Jiwan considered this. And if she proves to be a security risk? Then I'll take full responsibility, Day said. But she won't be. I trust her with my life. I already have. After more debate, the council agreed to Yuna's compromise. Day and Hana were free to leave, though it was clear several council members weren't happy about it. Outside the building, Day finally let himself relax. Sorry about that. Government bureaucrats are the same everywhere. All talk, no action. Your leaders are weak, Hana observed. They fear the unknown so much they cannot see opportunity. Not all of them, Yuna said, walking with them toward the transport pad. Some of us understand what you represent, Hana. You're proof that not all members of an aggressive species support aggression. That's important information. She handed Day a data chip. This contains everything our intelligence division wants to know. Take your time with it, no rush. And Day, for what it's worth, you did the right thing. Not the legal thing, not the proper thing, but the right thing. Don't lose that. Back at the research station, things slowly returned to normal, sort of. Hana spent hours each day working with intelligence officers via video link, describing Valerai culture, technology, and territories. The information she provided was invaluable, but she also learned about humanity. Day introduced her to music and she became obsessed with it. The complex rhythms and emotional depth of human compositions fascinated her. She would sit for hours, listening to everything from classical symphonies to modern electronic beats. "Your species makes beauty," she said one evening while a piano concerto played. "Valerai make only tools and weapons. I never knew life could have this much color." Day was teaching her to read and write in human languages. She learned frighteningly fast, already composing simple messages. At night, she would write in journals about her experiences, processing years of trauma through words. Sometimes she had nightmares. Day would wake to hear her making distressed sounds in her room. He learned not to wake her suddenly, that she might attack reflexively. Instead, he would sit nearby and talk softly until she woke on her own. She always apologized. He always told her it was okay. 2 months after the fight with Kale's hunting party, they received a message that changed everything. It came through official diplomatic channels, which meant someone had given the Valerai a way to contact human governments. The message was from someone identifying himself as Tarek, champion of the Valerai High Council. It was addressed directly to Day. "Human who bears the marked scent, I greet you. Word of your battle with Kale has spread through our people. You fought with cunning and defeated warriors through strategy rather than strength. This interests the High Council. More importantly, it interests me. I am Tarek, brother by blood to the one you call Hana. I trained beside her in our youth before she was taken to the fighting pits. I have searched for her for many cycles. Now I know where she is, and I know she has found pack with your kind. I do not come to reclaim her. If Kale released her, then she is free by our law. But I must see her, must know she is well. And I must meet the human who defeated our warriors. The council has granted me this right. I will arrive at your world in 30 days. I come alone as observer and family, not as hunter. Tell my sister I never forgot her. Tell her I am sorry I could not save her sooner. I look forward to understanding why she chose humans as her pack. Perhaps you will teach me what Kale learned." The message ended. Day read it 3 times, then showed it to Hana. She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she started crying. The sound was heartbreaking, somewhere between a sob and a keen. Day had never seen her cry before. "Tarek," she said through tears. "My brother. He was good to me when others were cruel. When they took me to the pits, he tried to stop them. They beat him badly for interfering. I thought he had given up on me. Thought he had forgotten. He didn't forget," Day said gently. "Family doesn't forget. What if he tries to take me back? What if this is trick? Then we'll deal with it. Together. Like we deal with everything." Hana looked at him, her alien eyes wet with tears. "You would fight my brother for me?" "I would fight anyone for you," Day replied simply. "Your family. That means something to humans. It means everything." She pulled him into an embrace, careful not to hurt him with her strength. They stayed like that for several minutes, 2 beings from different worlds, bound by something stronger than blood. 30 days. 30 days until they learned if Tarek was truly an ally or if this was the beginning of something worse. But whatever came, they would face it together. That was what family did. The 30 days passed too quickly and too slowly at the same time. Day prepared the station again, though this time the preparations felt different. Less like fortifications, more like hospitality. If Tarek truly came in peace, treating him like an enemy would start things badly. Still, Day made sure weapons were accessible. Trust was one thing. Stupidity was another. Hana changed during those 30 days. The news that her brother still cared had affected her deeply. She talked about their childhood, the rare moments of kindness in a brutal culture. Tarek had been different, she explained. He questioned things others accepted. He saw value in the weak, not just the strong. That's why they sent him away, Hana said. He was too soft for the breeding programs. They made him a champion instead, gave him impossible missions, hoped he would die with honor. But he survived everything. Sounds like someone else I know, Day observed. The day of Tarek's arrival, Commander Yuna sent 2 ships to escort the Valerai vessel to the research station. It was a show of strength and a precaution. If this went wrong, they would be ready. Dai and Hana waited outside the station. The sky was clear for once, no storms threatening. That felt like a good sign. The Valerai ship descended slowly, clearly following the escort ship's guidance. It was smaller than the hunting vessels from before, built for speed rather than combat, a personal ship, not military. It landed 200 meters from the station. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then the boarding ramp lowered. Tarek emerged, and Day understood immediately why he was called champion. He was massive, even for a Valerai. His scales were a deep midnight blue, marked with silver patterns that seemed to glow in the sunlight. Scars covered his body, but unlike Kale's scars, these seemed almost decorative, proof of battles survived rather than injuries endured. He wore minimal armor, just ceremonial pieces that marked his status. But what struck Day most was his bearing. Tarek moved with absolute confidence, but without aggression. He looked around with obvious curiosity, studying the human buildings, the defense systems, the forest beyond. His gaze was intelligent and thoughtful. Then he saw Hana, and everything else fell away. "Little sister," he said in Valerai, his voice breaking slightly. "You live. You are whole. I feared I would never see you again." Hana took a step forward, then another, then she was running. Tarek opened his arms and caught her, the two Valerai embracing fiercely. They spoke rapidly in their language, too fast for Day to follow even with translation software. After several minutes, Hana pulled back and gestured to Day. "Tarek, this is Day. He sheltered me when I was wounded. He protected me from hunters. He gave me a new life." Tarek turned his attention to Day, and the human understood why people feared this alien. The intensity of that gaze was overwhelming. Tarek was measuring him, judging him, seeing everything. Then Tarek did something unexpected. He knelt, bringing his eyes level with Day's. It was a gesture of respect, of acknowledging an equal. "Human Day," Tarek said in surprisingly good human language. "I owe you a debt that cannot be repaid. You saved my sister when I could not. You gave her freedom when I failed to. I am in your service." "No," Day said firmly. "You're not in my service. Nobody should be in anyone's service. If you want to thank me, help us understand your people so we can prevent this from happening to others." Tarek tilted his head, studying Day with those intense eyes. "Kale's report said you were unusual." He was correct. Most species, when given power over another, use it. You refuse the offer. "Because I don't want power over people. I want people to be free." "A revolutionary concept," Tarek said, standing. "Your species will trouble the galaxy greatly with such ideas." He paused. "I mean that as a compliment." They moved inside the station. Tarek had to duck to fit through some doorways, but he navigated the human-sized space with grace. He examined everything with clear fascination, asking questions about technology, about human culture, about the research Day conducted. At dinner, prepared with food suitable for Valerai biology, the real conversation began. "I need to understand," Tarek said, looking between Hana and Day. "The Valerai have a saying, 'The weak exist to serve the strong.' This has been our truth for 10,000 years. But you, Day, you reject this. And you, little sister, you have embraced his rejection." "Why?" Hana spoke first. "Because it is a lie, Tarek. Strength comes in many forms. He is physically weaker than any Valerai, but his mind is strong. His compassion is strong. His courage is strong. The old ways measure only one kind of strength and call everything else worthless. This is why we never create beauty, never make art, never know peace. We only know dominance and submission." Tarek was quiet, absorbing this. Then he looked at Day. "You have changed my sister greatly. Is this your intention? To change all Valerai?" "No," Day said. "I have no intention of changing anyone. But I won't accept slavery or cruelty either. If Valerai want to interact with humans, they need to understand that we measure civilization differently. We judge species by how they treat the vulnerable, not how they treat the powerful. And if we refuse to change, if we remain as we are, then you'll find yourself increasingly isolated," Day said honestly. "Humans aren't alone in the galaxy. There are other species who feel the same way we do. Slavery is common in the universe, but so is resistance to it. Eventually, the slavers find themselves facing unified opposition. History teaches this lesson repeatedly." Tarek considered this. "The High Council believes humans are weak because you value cooperation over dominance. They see your empathy as a flaw to exploit. And what do you believe?" Dee asked. "I believe the Council is making a mistake. I have studied your species since learning of Hana's situation. Your history is violent, but it trends toward cooperation. You fight viciously when threatened, but you also build alliances. You create beauty and knowledge. You send messages to the stars hoping for friends, not assuming enemies. Tarek paused. You are what we could become if we chose differently. Then help us, Hana urged. Help us free the others. Help us show the council that another path is possible. That is treason, little sister. Only if the council's way is the only way. But you said yourself they might be wrong. Tarek was quiet for a long time. Finally he spoke. I cannot betray my people, but I can be truthful with the council. I can tell them what I have seen here. I can argue for change, for re-evaluation of our assumptions about weakness and strength. That's all we ask, Day said. The conversation shifted to lighter topics. Tarek told stories about Hana's youth, before the fighting pits. She had been curious even as a child, always asking why things were the way they were. Their clutch mother had despaired of ever making her a proper warrior. And now look at her, Tarek said with obvious pride. She defeated her training master, escaped an empire, and built a new life among aliens. She became exactly what they tried to prevent, free. As the evening wore on, Day saw something happening. Tarek was changing his mind about something. The way he watched Hana, the questions he asked about human culture, the thoughtful silences. Something was shifting in his worldview. Finally, as the night grew late, Tarek stood. I must return to my ship. The council expects a report within 2 cycles. But before I go, I would make a request. What request? Hana asked. Come with me. Return to Valoray space not as a slave, but as my partner. Help me argue for change from within. Your voice carries weight now. You are the warrior who chose freedom, who defeated hunters, who found worth in another species. The young warriors speak your name with respect and curiosity. You could inspire a generation. Hana looked shocked. Return? But they will kill me. Not if you are under my protection. As champion, I have the right to choose my companions. None can challenge that without challenging me, and few would dare. Tarek looked at Day. And the human should come as well. His perspective is needed. Absolutely not, Day said immediately. Hana's safety is one thing. But I'm just a researcher. I have no place in Valoray politics. You have every place, Tarek insisted. You are the first human to defeat Valoray warriors. You are marked with my sister's scent, which makes you pack by our law, and you represent a philosophy that challenges everything we believe. The council needs to hear from you directly, not filtered through reports. It's too dangerous, Hana said. The council would see Day as prey. They would test him, challenge him, possibly kill him to prove humans are weak. Then he would prove them wrong, as he has before. Tarek looked at Day with respect. But I will not force this. The choice must be yours. Day thought about it. Going into Valoray space was insane. He would be surrounded by predators, alone except for Hana and Tarek. If things went wrong, there would be no rescue, no escape. But he thought about the others still enslaved. He thought about the potential for change, for preventing future suffering. And he thought about Hana, who had risked everything for freedom. I need to think about it, Day said. Give me time to consider. Tarek nodded. I will remain in orbit for 3 days. Give me your answer before then. He turned to Hana. Little sister, whatever you decide, know that I am proud of you. You are braver than any warrior I have known. After Tarek left, Day and Hana sat in silence for a long time. You are actually considering this, Hana said finally. I can tell. It's a stupid idea, Day admitted. I should say no immediately. But you think you should go? I think someone. The journey to Valoray space took 17 days aboard Tarek's ship. Dee spent most of it trying not to think about how insane this decision was. He'd left messages with Commander Yuna, recorded statements in case he didn't return, and made peace with the possibility of dying far from home. Hana handled it better. She was returning to the place that had tortured her, but she seemed calm, resolved. Fear is useless now, she explained. We chose this path. We walk it completely. Tarek proved to be excellent company during the journey. He taught Day the basics of Valoray language and culture, the complex web of honor and hierarchy that governed their society. He also shared the plan for their arrival. The council has agreed to hear you, Tarek said, but they will test you first. This is tradition. They must see if you are worthy of addressing them. What kind of test? Day asked, though he suspected he knew. Combat. Single combat against a warrior of their choosing. You may refuse, but then they will not hear your words. They will dismiss you as coward, and humans will be marked as weak. So I have to fight someone who's stronger, faster, and more experienced than me. And if I lose, humanity gets labeled as prey species. Yes, Tarek said simply. I am sorry. I argued against this, but the council was firm. They want to see what Kale saw. They want to understand how you defeated warriors. Day laughed bitterly. I won because I was desperate and didn't fight fair. That's not exactly a strategy I can replicate in formal combat. Then don't fight formally, Hana suggested. You said yourself humans gave up honor in war. Show them that. In front of their ruling council? That'll just make them angry. Let them be angry, Tarek said. Let them see that humans think differently. That is the entire point of your visit, yes? To show them another way? The ship arrived at the Valerai homeworld 3 days later. Day got his first look at an alien civilization's heart, and it was both beautiful and terrible. The planet was mostly land, covered in vast forests and mountain ranges. Cities were sparse, built around natural resources rather than convenience. The architecture was all sharp angles and aggressive lines, buildings that looked like they were ready for war even in peacetime. The council chamber was carved into a mountain, a massive amphitheater open to the sky. Thousands of Valerai could gather here. Today, several hundred had come to see the human who dared enter their space. Day walked into the arena feeling every eye on him. The attention was predatory, calculating. He was being evaluated as prey, as a potential threat, as a curiosity. It took everything he had not to run. Hana and Tarek walked beside him, their presence the only comfort in this hostile place. They took positions at the edge of the arena while Day continued to the center. The council sat on a raised platform, 7 Valerai of obvious age and power. The center counselor, an ancient female with scales gone silver with age, regarded Day with cold intelligence. Human, she said in perfect human language. I am Counselor Reva. You stand before the High Council of the Valerai Empire in our heart chamber, where only warriors of proven worth may speak. Yet you are not Valerai. You are weak by our measures. Explain why we should hear you. Day had practiced this speech for days. Now standing before them, he threw it away and spoke from the heart. Because you're making a mistake, he said. You're measuring worth by only one standard, and it's limiting you. You have strength and courage, that's obvious. But you don't have growth. You don't have progress. You're so busy proving you're strong that you never ask if strength alone is enough. The crowd murmured. Some sounded angry. Others sounded intrigued. Bold words, Reva said. But words are wind. Prove them. Face our chosen warrior. Show us this human way you claim is superior. A Valerai stepped into the arena from the opposite side. He was young, scales bright red, body built for speed and violence. He carried ceremonial blades and moved with the confidence of someone who'd never lost. This is Rax, Reva announced. He has defeated 40 opponents in the arena. He volunteers to test the human. Rax looked at Day and smiled, showing many teeth. I will be gentle, human. I will make your death quick and honorable. Thanks, Day replied. I'll try to make your defeat educational. The crowd actually laughed at that. Even some council members looked amused. Apparently, confidence in the face of certain death was respectable. Tarek approached with a case of weapons. You may choose any of these for the combat. They are traditional Valerai arms honored by usage. Day looked at the weapons, blades, spears, clubs, all of them designed for warriors with claws and strength far beyond his. Using any of them would be suicide. No thanks, Day said. I'll use my own tools. He pulled items from his pack, a canister of industrial lubricant, a high-intensity flashlight, a small explosive charge meant for mining, a tangle of wire, and a human combat knife, small and unimpressive next to Valerai weapons. The crowd went silent. Then angry muttering began. Someone shouted that Day was mocking them. Reva raised a hand for silence. These are your weapons? These tools? These are what humans use when we need to win, Day said. You want to see the human way? This is it. We don't fight for honor or glory. We fight to survive, and we use everything available. This is cowardice, Rax snarled. This is intelligence, Day countered. But if you're afraid of fighting someone who thinks instead of just attacking, we can call it off. That did it. Rax's pride wouldn't let him back down now. He raised his blades and moved into a fighting stance. Begin, Reva called. Rax charged immediately, fast as a bullet. Day sprayed the lubricant on the ground between them. Rax hit the slick surface and his legs went out from under him. He crashed down hard, sliding past Day. Before Rax could recover, Day used the flashlight, strobe mode, directly in the Valorai's eyes. Rax roared and swung blindly. Day wasn't there, already moving. The wire came next. Day scattered it across the arena floor, creating a network of nearly invisible trip lines. Rax, vision still recovering, charged again. He hit a wire and stumbled. The crowd was shouting now. Some were angry at the tactics. Others were fascinated. This wasn't how combat was supposed to work. This was something new. Rax adapted, moving more carefully, watching for traps. He was learning, getting smarter. That was dangerous. When Rax lunged again, Day triggered the mining charge. He'd placed it carefully, positioned to create noise and smoke without serious injury. The blast went off between them and Rax flinched back. That's when Dee moved in with the knife. He was inside Rax's reach before the Valorai realized it. Blade pressed against a major artery in the leg. Not cutting, just touching. A reminder of where it could cut. Yield. Day said quietly, "I don't want to hurt you. But I will if you don't stop." Rax froze. His blades were still in his hands, but Day's knife was already at the killing spot. The Valorai had never faced someone who moved like this, someone who fought without pattern or honor. "You fight like prey," Rax said, breathing hard. "Like something desperate." "Humans were prey once," Day replied. "For thousands of years, bigger and stronger things hunted us. We survived by being smarter, more adaptable, more willing to do whatever it took. We learned that strength isn't everything. Sometimes thinking is stronger." Rax slowly lowered his blades. "I yield," he said, the words clearly painful. "The human has defeated me." Day stepped back and helped Rax to his feet. The crowd was silent now, processing what they'd seen. A human physically inferior by every measure had defeated a proven warrior without landing a single conventional blow. Counselor Riva stood. "That was the most dishonorable combat I have witnessed in 50 years, she paused. "It was also the most effective. You have proven your point, Human Day. Strength can be overcome by intelligence and adaptation. This is a lesson we had forgotten if we ever knew it." She gestured to the other counselors. They conferred briefly, then she spoke again. "The High Council recognizes the human Dai as worthy of address. Speak and we will hear." Day took a breath. This was it. The moment everything had been leading to. "The Valorai Empire is built on a lie," he began. "The lie that strength is the only virtue, that domination is the only path, that the weak exist to serve the strong. But this lie is killing you. You don't create art or beauty because those are seen as weak. You don't form true alliances because you only understand hierarchy. You enslave other species instead of learning from them. And most importantly, you're alone. You have an empire but no friends. You have warriors, but no one who would fight beside you by choice. You have strength but not wisdom. Humanity offers another path. We were weak once. We were prey. But we survived by cooperation, by valuing intelligence over brute force, by seeing strength in diversity. We don't measure civilization by how well you dominate others. We measure it by how you treat those weaker than yourself. You asked why you should change. Here's why: because the galaxy is changing around you. More species are meeting, communicating, forming bonds, and empires built on slavery find themselves increasingly isolated and opposed. You can adapt and join the greater community, or you can remain as you are and watch the galaxy move on without you." The silence that followed was profound. Day had just told an empire of apex predators that they were doing everything wrong. It could go very badly.